Hello coaches, welcome back to another Modern Soccer Coach Breakdown. We keep everything on this channel as positive as possible, but this week we're going to challenge youth training methodology. We're going to look at three things that are pretty common in youth training exercises, and we are going to suggest that coaches reassess using them completely, and we're going to explain why, and at the end we're going to loop it back into a bigger theme that we feel is a little bit of a challenge in youth coaching methodology. As always, if you like the videos, please like, please subscribe, and please check out more coaching content on modernsoccercoach.com. Okay, 3 youth training drills that are expired. Let's go. Okay, the first training drill is the most common one that you will see as a warm-up progression technical exercises as young players get started. It is the toe taps exercise. Now, this might be a controversial topic because it looks as if, you're getting your loads of touches on the ball. But what it reminds me of is the knees up warm-up that we used to do in PE in the 1980s. And I would argue it probably has about as much impact on development as well. It's a pretty redundant exercise. Yes, they are moving their feet. Yes, you could argue that it's quick feet. But is it really relevant in terms of getting a good feel for the ball, in terms of moving the ball, in terms of becoming comfortable with the ball, in terms of becoming confident with the ball? Yeah, I don't think it is. I think when you have a group of 20 or 10 kids doing this at the same time, it looks as if everyone is doing a really coordinated warm-up. But in reality, is the goal for youth development coordinated warm-ups, or is the goal for youth development being comfortable on the ball, moving the ball, taking risks with the ball, having fun with the ball, or is it just a routine up, down, right, left, up, down? How many seconds does this disengage the players? I would argue for a 9-10-year-old, you're probably looking at 60 seconds. I've seen coaches do this for 4 or 5 minutes, right, left, different sets, and the players are, again, moving up and down, maybe getting heart rate up, but apart from that, not much else is happening. So this is the first one that I would reassess. I would say, listen, if you're doing toe taps, there's something better you could be doing here. Definitely my first exercise that has expired. The second exercise for me, again, it might seem like it's ball mastery, ball familiarity, but for me it is redundant, and that is moving the ball with the sole of your feet in straight lines, like we're talking 10, 15, 20 yards, rolling. Sometimes it's directional where players are going from north to south, rolling the ball. Again, you could argue that, hey, this is teaching them how to use the different surface of their foot to become skillful, more confident. But for me, you don't need that much of it. You don't need 10, 15, 20 yards. You need 2-3 yards to move the other way, 1 yard move the other way. So yes, the surface is 100% relevant to youth development, and the idea of it and the concept of it is perhaps relevant to youth development. But the implementation of doing it for long distances, long periods of time, without a change of direction, without something sparking a little decision for the player, again, for me, there's so much more you could do with this exercise that could make it more enjoyable, that could make it more challenging, and could make it more relevant to a football action that a player is going to experience in a game. Yes, it's a good idea. Yes, I appreciate the concept. But no, not for 10, 15, 20 yards in a straight line. Roll. Not for me. That's the second one that I think has expired. And the third one that I feel has expired without a shadow of a doubt is this concept of learning how to dribble, where every step you take a touch on the ball. So it becomes almost like a stutter. Step. So you travel about 10, 15, 20 yards and you take about 10 touches on the ball as you're moving. Every step you take a touch. Again, the concept or the theory I appreciate is touch. The more touches, the more confidence, the more ball mastery, the ball familiarity. But this is one of the most restricting exercises I have ever seen at youth level because it's so unnatural to take a touch every time you run with the ball. Yes, if there's an opponent there, you might need to take 3-4 touches to weave and spin out of pressure. But if there's no opponent there, you actually change the mechanics where you open up the stride and it becomes 1 touch, 3 steps, 1 touch, 4 steps, depending on the level, depending on the speed. There's so many variables involved, but I don't think that you want to restrict the player or give the player an idea that in order to dribble a soccer ball at speed, it have to look like a basketball where it's bounce. No way, not for me. Again, I understand, I respect the theory behind it. I respect the fact that it is touches on the ball, But again, quality over quantity, and I think this is what we want to challenge when we're looking at youth methodology. There's a better way to do it. The circumstances will always dictate what the players does, so look at the circumstances, look at the environment, and change it up. So there we go, coaches. 3 things that I feel, again, are a little bit redundant at youth level. And this is the why behind it. First of all, we're going to look at dribbling and the evolution of dribbling and how we need to challenge how we're defining what great dribbling is. So years ago, it was George Best that made the headlines for the dribbling. It was this low centre of gravity. Also Diego Maradona, 1986 World Cup, low centre of gravity, knees bent. But then it started to change. Chris Waddle came, a little bit taller, a little bit of a different dribbling style. You had Zidane there, again, taller, more elegant with his dribbling, and the style started to evolve. David Ginola, number one, who challenged the mechanics of dribbling. Faustino Asprilla, Dean Nielsen, and then you have Messi, who again, maybe a throwback to the Maradona days. But there's no doubt that dribbling has become different and the player profile has shifted too. So we've got to become more open-minded with what great dribbling is. We've got to be more challenging to ourselves about how we coach this, how we define it, how we implement it, how we facilitate it. Just yesterday, after the Manchester United-Manchester City game, Gary Neville was on his podcast, his Sky Sports podcast, and he was talking about robotic footballers and how it's come into the game over the last 2 or 3 years, and everyone's playing a diluted version of Pep Guardiola's amazing possession system. It's almost becoming a diluted product now. But I would argue that it goes way back to systems. The systems will always get the blame. I work in tactical analysis. You'll always get people saying there's too much tactics, there's too much emphasis on systems, emphasis on the tactical element at youth level. And I wouldn't disagree completely, but I would say that it's also really, really important to recognize the type of coaching at youth level and how that's changed over the last 10 years. How many more coaches now are getting licensed, are getting grassroots licensing, and it's fantastic. It's great having more coaches in the ecosystem. However, more coaches doesn't necessarily mean better players. More coaches sometimes means more coaching. So more coaching as in, okay, now we'll have to break down every single thing. And that there can impact the freedom and the player to almost find their style at a younger age in a pretty big way. So I would say that coaches should be a little bit more deliberate about their session design to try and bring in more decisions, more flexibility, more changes of direction, more freedom, and then hold back a little bit on especially things that aren't necessarily right or wrong. Dribbling of soccer ball, players will learn when they overrun it, they'll learn that they overran the ball. They'll learn by losing it that maybe they should have kept a bit closer. They'll learn by running into trouble that maybe they should have cut back on the other side. You don't have to define right or wrong from a dribble at that early age. So much of it for me is experience, is learning, is having fun, and that process I feel could be really, really enjoyable for a player. And again, going back to the dribblers that we looked at before, how many of them came through organised dribbling exercises? Probably none of them. So just something that we should look at, just something that, again, food for thought, that we don't really challenge. We challenge oppose, we challenge unoppose, we challenge relevancy, we challenge realism, but we don't challenge this aspect of the game, and I feel it could be so important if we did. So a good conversation perhaps for youth development, for coaches, and maybe for coach education as well. So thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the video, as always, please like, please subscribe, please share with your coaching community, and please check out more coaching resources on modernsoccercoach.com. Thanks so much for your support. See you next week. Goodbye.